You know, in a world where game companies are following Nintendo and increasing their game prices, from PlayStation increasing the prices of PlayStation Plus in Canada to Microsoft Xbox increasing the price of consoles, controllers, and games themselves to almost about $100 a pop as well. You would think that EA Games is also going to increase its price based on its 20-year track record of being a money grubbing scam. Personal opinion, of course. But no, apparently, EA says it has no plans to follow the industry trend to increase game prices at this point. Now, fair warning, I was full disclosure, I was very shocked at this because EA has a history of doing things solely for money. I mean, microtransactions, crappy games at high prices, you name it. But I think, in reality, I think EA knows that they're in trouble. I mean, they had to lay off some employees. They were going with AI. Like there's all kinds of things. And they also are the owners of BioWare, and we all know how Dragon Age turned out. But we're going to cover all that real quick. But it seems like, they're like, no, we're not going to cross that line. So let's find out, shall we? Let's go. 80 level reports. Despite the recent decision by major game publishers like Nintendo and Xbox to raise the price of video games from the industry standard $70 to $10 or $20 more, EA has announced that it will not be doing so, at least at this point. So they could eventually, which I wonder how long eventually is going to be. During the latest earnings call via Yahoo Finance, when asked if they would follow the same approach of increasing prices for young franchises, EA's Chief Financial Officer Stuart Canfield stated that, from a guidance perspective, we have reflected no changes in the current strategy at this point. That it's true that the upcoming Madden NFL 26, which is coming this August and available for pre-order now, is priced at $70. It's also safe to predict the upcoming Battlefield, which will be fully revealed this summer, is set to release during the fiscal year 26, which ends on March 31st, 2026, will likely maintain its standard pricing. Although it's unknown yet how far they can go with this strategy, the news could be temporary relief for fans who probably still digesting the bad news from last week. The cost of games from Microsoft's first-party studios, all those major players in the industry, including Activision, Blizzard, Bethesda, ID Software, and many other studios, can be expected to be raised starting this year's holiday season. And I found this kind of interesting because there's some more news about EA. Because they laid a bunch of people off lately, and they're saying they're primed for accelerated growth. So I'm wondering if this is having the effect that they're hurting, because they're laying people off, right? And now they're saying, we're not going to change their price because they realize they need their customers, right? So every little bit helps, right? So CEO Andrew Wilson said the publisher has never been more optimistic about what comes next. Less than a week after reported laying off hundreds of workers and canceling multiple projects at Respawn Entertainment, EA has lauded its performance during the 2025 fiscal year and claims it is now primed for accelerated growth. The U.S. publisher recorded annual net bookings of $7.4 billion during the fiscal year 25, representing a 1% decrease year on year. Live service net bookings totaled at $5.34 billion. Full game net bookings totaled $2.02 billion. It capped the year with a fourth quarter that significantly exceeded expectations thanks to key performance by EA Sports FC, American Football, and The Sims. Yes, I think I did mention this in previous videos. I want to point out about them laying people off, especially during the Dragon Age fiasco, because BioWare had to shut down a lot of studios as well. And they were wanting to say that soccer or something like that, EA Sports and DAV did well together, which, was a big cope. The company noted that the EA Sports portfolio delivered record net bookings in fiscal year 2025, with the American football franchise exceeding $1 billion, and net bookings over the same period. The Sims, meanwhile, achieved historic double-digit growth in Quarter 4. EA also praised the launch performance of Hazelight Studios' co-op adventure Split Fiction, which has sold almost 4 million copies worldwide in around 2 months. Q4 marked a strong finish for fiscal year 25 with a broad-based momentum across the portfolio, positioning the business for accelerated growth, said EA CFO Stuart Cantrell, discussing the company's full-year results. As we enter fiscal year 26, we remain focused on disciplined execution as we build towards a slate of groundbreaking upcoming releases. EA CEO Andrew Wilson said the company is confident of executing across a deep pipeline as it moves into the next fiscal year, which will see it fully revealed and eventually launch the next installment in the Battlefield and Escape franchises. As we look for the next 2 years and beyond, we are positioned for strong growth driven by expansions across our live service, new game launches, and building global fandom for the new experiences in fiscal year 26. We're launching 2 of our most iconic franchises, Skate and Battlefield. Built as a dynamic live service, Skate is designed to grow alongside its community, offering new ways to express creativity, style, and progression over time. With early access planned in fiscal year 26, we're focused on delivering fun, authentic foundation that we can build on for years to come. Discussing the potential of Battlefield, Wilson said EA has conducted the biggest playtest in franchise history through its Battlefield Labs initiative, and claimed the response from players as far exceeded expectations. It now intends to invite even more testers into the fold. We're expanding Labs by inviting more players across Europe, North America, and will begin to include Asia. This marks a key milestone as we prepare for a full worldwide launch, backed by the largest Battlefield team in our history, and grounded in community collaboration. We remain firmly on track for a fiscal year 26 release, with a major global reveal later this summer. EA explained that its other major live service shooter, Apex Legends, demonstrated softness during its fiscal year, but said it remains committed to investing in long-term evolution of the franchise. Despite that pledge, the company expects Apex Legends net bookings to decline by approximately 40% year-on-year in fiscal year 26. Overall, EA is forecasting consolidating net bookings between $7.6 billion and $8 billion during the fiscal year, driven by EA Sports, Sims, Battlefield, and Skate. The publisher also expects continued growth in live services across the next 2 years. In his closing remarks, Wilson said EA has never been more optimistic about what's to come next, and remains home to some of the best creative talent in the industry. That's despite EA choosing to jettison a number of talented employees last year. Prior to enacting layoffs at Respawn, the company spent $125 million laying off 5% of its workforce. The publisher also laid off 6% of its workforce during fiscal year 23. In the wake of that rampant downsizing, it feels prudent to question whether EA will share Wilson's sense of unbridled optimism. And yes, well, that's another thing, is that downsizing could be a good thing. When you have too much bloat, you gotta cut out the slack. You gotta cut sling load, as we used to say in air assault. But yeah, it seems like they've had a significant trend of income pains, shall we say, that has affected the company. And it's no secret, especially with AI. So here in 80 level also mentions EA reaffirms its commitment to AI days after firing 400 people. Though throughout the entirety of 2024, Electronic Arts has relentlessly professed its commitment to controversial generative AI technology, claiming it would make the company 30% more efficient, insisting developers feel a hunger for Gen AI, and fully embracing it during September's 2024 Investor Day presentation, proving that like does indeed track like. Enter 25 with artificial intelligence remaining a combination of words that gets investors aroused. EA continues to sing praise of the same technology that has already cost thousands their jobs, with CEO Andrew Wilson recently affirming that the studio will be pushing and advancing its AI agenda. Speaking during the EA's Q4 financial earnings call, Wilson took a moment to talk about how AI is powering our future, describing technology as a powerful accelerator of creativity, innovation, and player connection. Wilson said the company is investing in new workflows and capabilities to integrate AI across all its teams, aiming to enhance how we build, scale, and personalize experience from dynamic in-game worlds to delivering authentic, athletic, and team likeness at incredible scale. He added that developers are using AI to push the boundaries of what's possible in design, animation, and storytelling, ultimately enabling EA to deliver deeper, more immersive gameplay. While Electronic Arts' tendency to jump from trend to trend based on what investors deem popular is hardly surprising at this point, let's not forget that before AI, Wilson was all about hyping up NFTs and blockchain gaming, and yes, that was a thing. When those were in vogue amongst the corpos, the optics of the CEO's statements were particularly questionable, given EA's latest rounds of layoffs that took place just a week ago. Without offering a clear explanation for decision other than a formal soulless kiss-off about them making select changes within our organization that more effectively aligns teams and allocates resources, the studio recently eliminated approximately 300 to 400 employees, including about 100 at Respawn Entertainment alone. Man, they are salty about Respawn. Oh my god. 10 to 20% of Apex Legends developers and tires back. In the wake of the layoffs, Respawn also announced the cancellation of 2 unannounced games that were in early development, including R7, a long-rumored extraction shooter set in Titanfall universe, which has been speculated based on EA jobs postings. Yeah, and, well, that's very true. They traded 400 people for AI, and they did do NFTs. I mean, South Park made fun of NFTs. No one cared about NFTs. No one saw the sense in them. And I don't know why, like with Blue Sky, I don't know why they try to make NFTs a thing. As far as AI, it is Pandora's box. It has been opened, and people are using it. And part of the reason is, especially as a YouTuber, I use AI as well for some of my art, like in the background here, and as well as my intros and outros for my podcasts and Lavistro plays. It's because I can't afford to use music, and the music I would love to have used, gets copyright struck. So even though I'm just using it to add flair to my audience, including royalty-free ones, it's just best to go with AI because you can't copyright AI. So at least that's what I understand it as. So I've never been copyright struck with AI. If people want to put a stop to AI, they need to encourage the human element, and people need to stop being money greedy, right? I do believe in, if you pay for something, you make something, you have the fruits of your labor, sure. You should get paid for your work. But at the same time, something that's 20, 30, 40 years old, or something that's commonly heard in the radios and everything else, are you going to copyright strike a radio? No. Are you going to copyright strike me for listening to it on my car? No. So why would you copyright strike me if I'm playing a game that I bought that has a song in it? Why would you copyright strike me for something that I could record on a video cassette tape or a CD later on and share it with my friends as a mixtape back when I was a kid? You wouldn't do that. So why would you do that now? Alright? So there is that. But another thing I want to point out with EA is Dragon Age. But they say they were not getting any support from BioWare or EA. Mark Dara, the former executive producer of the fantasy RPG Dragon Age series, recently opened up about the unfair treatment of Dragon Age at EA and BioWare, as well as how the Veilguard did not receive adequate support, if any. In a video uploaded in his YouTube channel, Dara said that the 2017 was the most impactful 12 months for BioWare. Around the end, Dara and his team were reassigned to help with final development stage of Andromeda. Once it is finished, those resources were supposed to be returned to the next Dragon Age Veilguard. However, this didn't happen. So what happened was the leader of a project stepped away to assist the another project while the original project was still ongoing. This leadership discontinuity seemed to act as a bad example, as they're called. It did set a precedent as this being a thing that we could do, and it's not a good thing to do. It is incredibly dangerous to have a project run while it's missing some of its core leadership. Andromeda was released in March 2017, and as he said, it doesn't go well, but it didn't seem to hurt that much, as they stated to the EA group that BioWare reported to wasn't that particularly interested in it because they had little to gain from the success of Andromeda and little to lose from its failure. After Andromeda was shipped, Dara still felt that EA still wasn't getting adequate support, including staff who should have come to help but were still working on other projects. So he contacted EA CEO Andrew Wilson and former EA executive Patrick Soderlund for support for the organization that he believed the franchise deserved. The answer to him was that the franchise was incredibly important and Dragon Age would be allocated resources that they wanted or needed, which again didn't happen. Instead, the parent company seems to be more interested in pushing BioWare to move on to the next thing they could tie themselves to, which is Lavistro shooter Anthem. Dara and many developers who used to help with Andromeda again were shifted to offer help. Eventually, Anthem failed to meet EA's sales expectations in 2020. Mark Dara left BioWare. Dara's story combined with that of David Garner, a former lead writer at BioWare, who recently shared some behind-the-scenes situations between the studio's two major franchises, as well as EA's attitude towards them, paints a picture of the situation faced by the beloved franchise. And yes, like, I will admit that if you constantly change the leadership up and you don't focus on your projects, you leave a state of anarchy, sure, and then we get like Corin Bush, and he literally did his own thing to it. So that could be a possibility. That I will admit that is a factor, but you were there, and all of a sudden it changes to this woke slop. I don't understand why, like, even EA would know that Mass Effect and BioWare were Golden Goose. I have a hard time believing that they didn't get the support they needed. Right? That's one thing I have a hard time experiencing. People were waiting on this game. People were talking about this game for almost a decade, since Inquisition 3 at least. And then it comes out 10 years later from development hell. Granted, we all know that Anthem was being worked on first, and then Andromeda and all this stuff. We all know that. But it's still their responsibility. Now, it also had what? A huge allotted funding, and it failed to produce. Part of it is leadership. So yes, like we point out that under from what we're reading here, I'll just point out the CEO Andrew Wilson has made some bad calls. All right, and what I mean by that is he was interested in blockchains and NFTs, as it says here. And they had to get rid of 400 some employees and trade them for AI. So that's trying to reduce the manpower with the cost of the manpower, I should say. Thinking AI will carry the team. But since I played the first Ascendant, that's like expecting Fury Stan to carry the team. Like, literally. I'm not kidding. Dan, I know you're watching this possibly, and I do love you, bro. You're awesome, dude. But let's be honest here. My low-level character can do more damage than your Glay. Speaking of which, how's your ultimate Glay coming around? Yeah. But yeah, Scene and Val and Mikey had to carry our asses, and even I'm holding my own now with Brayna and stuff. Yeah, I'm rambling, but that's what I'm saying. It's like, well, Dan is no Andrew Wilson, right? It's hard to expect, or I should say, Dan's no AI here, right? He's a little more intelligent, but it seems like they're expecting AI to do most of the work, so they can keep their money and pay less people. And when you add in that they say they're primed for success, that they're not going to change their pricings, and they're trying to use more AI, and it just seems like all their past decisions are coming back to haunt them. I think, really, honestly, I think the real reason why EA is not adjusting its prices like everyone else in the industry is because they're hurting, and they know if they do, if they are losing customers, they're losing fans, they're losing support. And it's coming back to bite them in the ass. It's a worse inconvenient time. So they're like, okay, if we save our money here, if we do this, people will come to buy our games anyways because it's cheaper. So to keep the quality, or what they believe will keep the quality, is fire a whole bunch of activists, which was a good thing. You fired the activists, you keep the good people, fire the activists, which I doubt was what they did, because we don't know why 400 people were fired, other than they couldn't afford to pay them and they laid them off. So they're hoping AI will do the work. They're hoping one guy with AI can do the work of an entire team. And like we've seen with bad calls like NFTs, blockchain games, that probably is not going to be a thing. So I think the reason, like I said, I really think the reason why they're keeping their prices the same is, number one, it's probably too late to do so because of the fiscal year, and number two, they can't afford to raise their prices. They haven't had a win for a while, and Dragon Age literally destroyed them. I know people say, well, what about sports? Well, yeah, what about sports? Sports is sports. It's a very niche audience. Not everyone plays sports, just like not everyone plays RPGs. It's a niche audience. Yes, it did well, but not well enough to keep 500 people, 400 people. Did do well enough to keep AI out of their company. They're always following trend after trend. In my personal view, I think the shareholders should remove the CEO and CFO and get new executives. That's literally what I think. But I also think they need to start focusing on making good games and not going after trends, be it NFTs, AI, or political activism. But what's your thoughts, viewers? Put your thoughts in the comments below, and as always, happy gaming.
Worlds clash in endless collision, gaming news with a fierce precision, with a spark so wild it breaks the norm. In the tempest eye, a cyberstorm. Reclaim gaming in Dragon Cast. Fire breathing wide, screaming loud. Lavistro's here to shake the crowd.